values and well-being, classical and contemporary Indian philosophical perspectives to celebrate the Indian philosopher's day. Today, we have with us Professor Ramnath Jha, School of Sanskrit and Indic Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi. Now, I would like to request Apti Datto, Assistant Professor of Philosophy at Nazrul University, to deliver welcome address and introduce our speaker.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today is the 10th day of ICPS sponsored special lecture series on values and well-being, classical and contemporary Indian philosophical perspectives, organized by the Department of Philosophy, Kazi Nazrul University, Asansol, West Bengal, to observe Indian Philosophers' Day 2021. Now, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Indian Council of Philosophical Research for their financial support to us to organize such academic program. Again, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks and gratitude to our respected speaker, Professor Ramnath Jha. Professor Ramnath Jha, School of Sanskrit and Indic Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, Southwest Delhi, for readily accepting our invitation to deliver his valuable lecture in our department, despite of his busy schedule. I, on behalf of myself and also on behalf of our department, I welcome sir to this virtual platform. Professor Jha's area of specialization is Advaita Vedanta, Sankhya Yoga, Navya Nyaya, and Philosophy of Science. Professor Jha has worked on a project titled Towards an Asian Continental Poetics, a study in intercultural space with special reference to the works of Han Young-yoon and Rabindranath Tagore, funded by Academy of Korean Studies, Korea, as one of the investigators since 1st January 2011 for 2 years. A book titled A Reader in Indian Philosophy, Shankha Darshana, authored by Professor Jha. Besides this, he has published several research articles in the various journals of national and international repute. Today, Professor Jha will deliver his lecture on ethical values and well-being from the viewpoint of Patanjali. So now may I request our respected speaker, Professor Jha, to deliver his valuable lecture.
Thank you so much. And I feel privileged to be speaker here, and thank you so much for inviting me. Our topic is ethical values and well-being from the viewpoint of Patanjali. So let us begin with the introduction of yoga. And we all know that yoga is now globally accepted thing, and in India and also in abroad, people are taking advantage of this philosophy. Now let us begin with sorry. Let us begin with the first of all the ethical values. We know in our tradition, ethics is guided by our worldview. So, whatever we acquire, what knowledge we acquire, that creates a worldview in our personality, and that worldview, that knowledge prompts our behavior. In Gita 2, in the 18th chapter of Gita, Krishna says, Jnanam Gyayam Parigyata Trividha Karma Chodhana. It is knowledge that prompts our behavior. So, Patanjali actually put forth the issues which we face in our day-to-day life. And through knowledge, through acquiring knowledge, how can we transcend those issues, those problems we are facing? That is the main issue. So generally we know that Yoga Sutra of Patanjali has been divided into 4 chapters. That is Samadhi Pad, Sadhan Pad, Vibhuti Pad, and Kaivalya Pad. Now, there is a specific definition of yoga there, yogas chitta vritti nirodha. So, cessation of our mental modification is known as yoga. And why cessation? Because our sense organs come with contact of the external reality, acquired knowledge, and that actually prompts our behavior. The problem is that when we come into contact with external thing, then there are so many shades of external reality. Sometimes we get happiness, sometimes we feel pain, sometimes we have different experiences, sometimes we create problem for others for the sake of our selfishness. So what type of values, what we can say the standard values of humanity, that should be developed in our personality. And Yoga Sutra of Patanjali gives a model before us that by using this model, by applying this method, you can develop certain values in your personality, and getting equipped with those values, you can become an asset to society. You can become an asset to the whole humanity, the whole nature. So I think that is to be addressed. For this, Patanjali brings the first chapter, that is Samadhi Pad. And you know, there are 5 layers of our mind, as Patanjali say, as Bhashya, Yoga Bhashya explains on the first sutra of Patanjali, Ath Yoga Anushasanam. So there are 5 layers of mind. Those are Kshipta, Moodh, Vikshipta, Ekagra, and Niruddha. So first 3 layers of mind. Kshipta means our mind is not focused. Mood, mind is just has a nature to become lazy, a state of inertia. And Vikshipt is a kind of mind where we become able to focus our mind on something for some time. But after that, again, our mind becomes changeable. So first 3 layers of mind are not supposed to be the yogic mind. The fourth state of mind, that is ekagra. Ekagra is a mind where you can focus your mind on particular goal, particular object for longer period with enjoyment. You enjoy that state. So from that point, yoga starts. So first thing, that you must control your mind. There are two layers of personality in society. Generally, we are under the control of mind. Generally, the masses are under the control of mind. But Patanjali says that you should have a vice versa kind of thing. Rather, you are under the control of mind. You should control your mind and apply accordingly. So this ekagra state is that state where you have complete control over mind and you apply that mind as per your desire. So that is known as yoga, first state of yoga, and that is the sampragyat yoga. Sampragyat yoga. And through sampragyat yoga means through focus of mind, you can pierce the gross reality and understand the subtle aspect of reality. By piercing even the subtle aspect, you can understand the causal aspect of reality. And after that, at some point, you feel that there is a difference between consciousness and matter. Consciousness has been named as Purush in yoga philosophy, and Prakriti as the primordial material cause. So, through Sampragyat Yoga, you become able to understand that the difference between consciousness, Purush, and Prakriti, matter. Why this kind of yogic thing is needed in our life? Because through sense organ, we understand the fragmented aspect of reality. Fragmented aspect of reality provides us a kind of approximate knowledge. And by getting equipped with approximate knowledge, our behavior is based on fragmented reality, and that actually gives us a very limited kind of happiness. So I think that is the goal, where we have to understand the limitations of our knowledge, the limitations of the capacity of sense organs. And there itself, we require a kind of focused mind through which we can understand the subtle reality. Subtle reality means at some point you realize that the whole universe is not in isolation. Objects are not in isolation. Universe is not fragmented. There is something interconnected. There is something interconnected. And when you have that kind of experience, your behavior becomes different. So, knowledge based on only senses gives us a different kind of knowledge, different kind of prompts us for different kinds of behavior, and knowledge based on interconnected aspect of reality, that prompts a different kind of behavior. For example, just I'm trying to explain through some aspect of science that through Newtonian science, because the basic foundation of Newtonian science is the fragmented universe. And fragmented universe finally leads you to the state of approximation. And 200-300 years, scientists only understood the fragmented aspect of reality, and that creates a kind of plurality, that creates a kind of fragmented understanding. So that is one aspect. But when quantum physics was developed, then quantum physicists concluded that the nature of subparticle is not a kind of fragmented reality. Their nature is something interconnected. For example, there are so many experiments that even an electron is connected with the other electrons which are in remote part of this universe. So at gross level, there is a fragmentation, there is a kind of isolation, but at deeper level, at subtle level, there is interconnectivity. So through this focused mind, we understand that state where there is a interconnectivity. So that kind of knowledge change your behavior. Why this is related with value? Because once your mind is based on fragmented reality, particularly from Western point of view, generally when René Descartes says, I think, therefore I exist, it means he is trying to say that a thinking being is a conscious being. So I am thinking, it means I am a conscious being. But other than human being is non-thinking being. So they are non-conscious being. So non-conscious being means they are totally different from us. And if it is so, then a thinking being has all right to dominate over other non-thinking being, other than human being. So I think that is a different kind of behavior, different kind of value. And with that mindset, whole Newtonian science moved, and that affects the policy of even government. So we tried to dominate over nature, but after some time we are facing a negative kind of development. Now there is a global warming issue. There are so many other things which are facing now, and scientists are very much worried because quantum physics concluded that everything is interconnected. Everything is interconnected and everything is interdependent. So if one is trying to dominate over nature, then nature will also react. And nature is reacting now. It is an all-known phenomenon now. So I think your knowledge based on a certain kind of reality decides your value, and decides your well-beingness. Patanjali says that if your knowledge is only based on sense organs, that is a kind of ignorance. That is a kind of ignorance. You should move ahead. You should understand the deeper aspect of reality. And yoga leads your mind to that state of reality. So in Sampragyat Samadhi or Ekagra mind, by the help of this mind, by the help of this process of yoga, you can understand gross reality in proper way, and you can move into the deeper state of reality, that is Savichar Samadhi. And there you find a kind of interconnectivity. So that knowledge prompts a different kind of behavior. Then you think that environmental things means trees, rivers, and other aspects of nature are very much connected with us. And if they are connected with us, then there is a kind of interdependence. We depend upon natural things, and natural things depend upon us. So a kind of exchange, kind of taking care of each other. This is a different kind of value. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Devan bhavaitane te deva bhavayantu vah parasparam bhavayantah sreya param avapsyatha. You must take care of natural deities. Natural deities means natural things, natural forces, natural process. So if it is so, then natural things, natural process will also take care of you. And by taking care of each other, you can reach the state of happiness. You can experience the state of happiness. Sreya param avapsyatha. And in next slok, next verse, Krishna says, evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartiyati hiya. There is a kind of cyclic process between human being and natural things. Cyclic process means human being depends upon natural things. Natural things depend upon human being. You have to realize this natural process, natural cyclic process. And if you are unable to understand this natural cyclic process, it means you are a papi. Pap shabd has been used. Aghayu indriyarama mogam partha sajivati. So this is the result of the understanding of the subtle aspect of reality. It is only possible through a particular kind of mind that has been named as Ekagra or Sampragyat Yoga. Because Bhagavad Gita is also a very, very systematic text of yoga. Bhagavad Gita is also Yoga Shastra. So I just want to convey that through Ekagra mind, when you understand the subtle aspect of nature, your knowledge has a different layer, and that knowledge prompts your different behaviors. There is a relationship between human being and nature. After that, through that mind, through Ekagra mind, even you move ahead and you move to the causal aspect of nature, where consciousness and matter meet. That is Sanand and Sasmita Samadhi. So there you feel that consciousness in the background, and there is a kind of material development. So everywhere you can realize consciousness. You can realize consciousness. You all know that our great scientist Jagdish Chandra Bose experimented on this issue. Before that, the whole Western tradition was very much clear that natural things, even animals, even trees, they are non-conscious beings. But it was for the first time when Jagdish Chandra Bose proved in Bradford, London, 10th May 2001, that there is a no demarcation line between living and non-living, because they presented certain properties as fatigueness and other things. Those properties reside in human being as well as what you say material reality. And he says that what I have done is nothing new. It has been proclaimed by our seers thousands years back. So that state of reality one can realize through ekagra mind. So when someone feels that there is a consciousness as underlying principle, there is a consciousness as unifying principle, and through that our perception of reality becomes different. So this is the third and fourth state of samadhi yoga. So this is needed because after a certain kind of knowledge, our behavior gets changed. And that is what Patanjali wants, that you should realize the whole universe in a totality, in its true nature. And finally, you should move to the pure state of consciousness. The consciousness which is as a substratum of the whole universe, of the whole creation, that also must be realized. So, with this kind of mindset, he explains this yoga, means ekagra, and through ekagra mind, you can realize the whole creation, whole universe, or whole material reality in totality, and that gives you a certain kind of understanding that will prompt your behavior, and that creates a different kind of value system. And for this there are three layers of process. First, in samadhi path, if a person is very much ready to control his mind, then he has given certain method for as samadhi path. And other people, if they are not equipped, if they are not prepared to have a certain kind of process to equip his mind or her mind, then he gives another model, and that is Kriya Yoga. In the first aphorism of second chapter, Tapah Swadhyaya Ishwar Pranidhanani Kriya Yoga. So that is a different process, and the process for a kind of group, that are, those groups are, people are not ready to apply his mind or her mind with first model. So through Kriya Yoga, even they can go to that state of reality, and they can change his or her worldview, and that will set a different kind of value system. A third kind of process, that is known as Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga is meant for the beginner. And for beginners, generally masses are as beginners, and for those people, they have divided the whole yogic process into 8 parts. That is known as Ashtanga Yoga. So Yama, Niyama, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. Again, Samadhi is the ultimate state, because finally you have to touch that state. But before that, you have to get prepared, because you are a beginner. You don't have that kind of control over mind as yogis have. So then you have to follow certain values, set values. And for Yama, ahimsa, satya, austeya, brahmacharya, aparigraha. So these are supposed to be the universal ethical values, ethical process through which you can develop your personality. So ahimsa, non-violence, non-violence at all level through any physical violence, violence through speech, violence in your mind. So all should be avoided. And satya, you have to speak as you realize as truth. Brahmacharya, brahmacharya has two types of meaning. First, then you must go ahead for the ultimate knowledge, for the knowledge of Purush and Prakriti, or the for knowledge of pure state of consciousness. And the second meaning is a kind of celibacy you have to maintain. Brahmacharya or parigya, do not accumulate more than as you need. And ahimsa, satya, austeya, brahmacharya or parigya, austeya, non-stealing. So these are five certain things you have to practice, and these are known as the universal values in Yoga Sutra Patanjali. And then five individual practices: Sauch, Santosh, Tapa, Swadhyay, Ishwar, Pranidhan. So these are five individual things. Then you should purify your mind. You should behave in a certain way that your internal and external cleaning process should be done. Then some kind of posture, asana because your body should be fit. Then pranayam, your even the inner process of your air means pranapan, dhyan, udan and saman. Everything should be perfect, and that also cleans your mind, internal organ. Then if you are prepared with these things, then you have pratyahar. Try to withdraw your mind from different things for external things. Withdraw means that you should practice to get at the holistic state of reality, not fragmented state. This is the main intention. So through pratyahar, you try to control your mind, and then your again mental process starts, a very dense mental process starts. So there are two parts of this Ashtanga Yoga. First is Bahirang or Yogang, the first five. Then Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. So again you are trying to focus your mind, but with some kind of break, because no one can become expert in a single day or 2 or 3 or in a few days, but you need proper practice. So dharana, then you become trained, so dhyan, and finally you have to get at that point what was explained in the first chapter, samadhi. So actually there are three processes for three types of persons. So it depends upon your capacity, with what capacity you are equipped. So actually this process leads your personality to higher state, and higher state means you are moving from fragmented state to the holistic state, fragmented state to the prakriti. Prakriti means the primordial state of cause, where all plurality finally merge to a singular material cause. So that is a kind of integrated understanding. You transcend your fragmented understanding to the integrated understanding, and that gives you a big picture. And develop a kind of holistic personality. So these are the methods developed by Patanjali And with this, a concept comes as Kaivalya. Kaivalya is a very important thing. I think why we need Kaivalya. Why we need Kaivalya? We have to know certain things, that when you understand the integrated aspect of reality, then your so many problems get solved. So many problems get solved. For example, Patanjali says that that in your personal life, for example, Vyadhistyan, Sangsay, Pramad, Alasya, Abhirati, Bhranti, Darshan. There are so many problems in our life. So through Ekagrata, through Samadhi, you can transcend those problems. Tat pratisedhartam ek tattvabhyasa. So through this kind of ekagra mind, you can even overcome so many physical problems, so many mental problems, and that is required in our day-to-day life. First thing, WHO says a person is supposed to be healthy, swasth, if he is physically fit, he is mentally fit, he is socially fit, and he is spiritually fit. So if you are fit in 4 aspects, then you are supposed to be a swasth vyakti, a healthy person. So if you follow these processes, then finally it leads us to a kind of healthy personality. Healthy personality means that will make you a physically fit person, and for this asana is prescribed, pranayam is prescribed. So this is for physical fitness. Then mentally fit, you must be mentally fit, and for mental fitness, as I said, Patanjali says Vyadhistyan, Sangsay, Pramad, Alasya, Abhirati, all kinds of mental problems we face in our day-to-day life, that can be overcome through this yogic practice. And for this Patanjali says tat pratisedhartham ek tattvabhyasa. So you focus your mind and go to the deeper aspect of reality. Finally, slowly that will make you able to overcome those problems. So you become mentally fit. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Kam esha krodh esha rajogun samudbhava. So it is rajogun actually that dominates your mind, and your mind gets trapped in lobh and other negative things, and that create a kind of tension in your mind. That is not a good sign for good health. So to overcome mental problems, in Bhagavad Gita again, dhyayato visyan pungsa sangaste supajayate, there is a chain. When your mind gets trapped with gross things, then you have so many problems in personality. You become isolated, you become tense. So to overcome these things, you must focus your mind and get at the deeper state of reality. So for this tat pratisedhartham ek tattvabhyasa. Another aspect of one very important aphorism, Maitri Karuna Muditopekshanam Sukh Dukh Punya Punya Vishayanam Bhavanatas Chitta Prasadanam. For mental satisfaction, for mental happiness, you can say pleasure or happiness, whatever you say, there are 4 things: Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, and Upeksha. So Maitri, to whom should I get friend? So my friend can be one that has a positive kind of understanding. So if you want to become happy, then you should have a friend which have a purely positive kind of personality. First thing. Second, if a person which has a negative kind of personality, that should not be your friend, but you must have compassion for that person. So Maitri, Karuna, you should always move or always discharge a positive kind of thing. You should always do something which is for the welfare of society. So that act should be done properly. So positive act with positive mindset. Third thing, and upeksha, you must ignore negativity. You must ignore illegal act. So 4 things and 4 acts to be taken care of, and friendship with positive thinking person, compassion for a person who is unhappy, positive and behavior for the welfare of society, behavior or positive act for the welfare of society, and to avoid negative kind of behavior. So if you follow these things, if you practice these things, that will make you happy. So this is the mental health. This is a mental health, and also related with the social health. So that actually decides your behavior, how to behave with social person. If I always criticize our neighbors, then you will get reaction. So you have to develop a certain kind of environment where there is a kind of positive thing. So in our Ayurveda, there is a Swasth Brit. Swasth Brit also includes ethics for social interaction. Ethics for social interaction. So you will have to maintain all these things. And if you understand the deeper aspect of reality, then you will find something unifying with your neighbor. Find something interconnecting with your neighbor. Find something interdependence with your neighbor. So that will help you to create a positive kind of environment in society. So that is actually related with social health. So you physically you become healthy, mentally you become healthy, and then socially you become healthy. But the 4th aspect, that is the most important, and that is the goal of whole Yoga Sutra, that is to realize the pure state of consciousness. Pure state of consciousness is beyond all these 3 layers, and actually that provides a kind of substratum of all these 3 things, all these 3 kinds of health. So to realize the pure state of consciousness, pure state of Purush. Purush doesn't mean male. Purush is a consciousness. Consciousness resides in male as well as female. So that is to be realized, and that is the result of Samadhi. That is the result of Samadhi. So there are 2-3 aspects that should be understood properly. First, if we feel clays, 5 types of clays. 5 types of clays because of our understanding of fragmented type of reality. So 5 clays are avidya, asmita, rag, dvesh, and abhinivesh. Avidya, ignorance; rag, attachment; dvesh, a kind of aversion. When you like something and you do not get, then you have a kind of jealousy in your mind. So that is dvesh. Avidya, asmita, you know, a kind of express your ego-ness. So asmita, and finally Abhinivesh, a kind of fear of everything. If you do not get, then we have a kind of fear. If we lose something, then we have a kind of fear. I will die sometime. That is a kind of fear. So it is due to ignorance. So that those 5 kleshas should be overcome. How can we overcome? Then this concept of Kaivalya comes, that we have to realize our true nature, that is the pure state of consciousness. And for that understanding, we have 2-3 concepts. First, all types of clays are based on relationship between your conditioned consciousness and external reality. So everything is based on the relationship between conditioned consciousness and external reality. Patanjali says that if you realize the deeper aspect of nature, then you can overcome those obstacles, those kleshas. And through certain practices, when you move from Savikalp, Savichar, Sanand and Sasmita, then you have a kind of discriminative wisdom through which you can distinguish consciousness from matter. And finally, that will lead you to the state of Asampragyat Samadhi. Asampragyat Samadhi means a state of mind that is non-functional, and that only prompts you to move to realize the pure state of consciousness. At the stage of Sampragyat, you know nothing because everything is known, but you have to just put your mind in a standstill position, and after some times you move to the experience of pure state of consciousness. So first thing, that through samadhi you will move deeper and deeper, and finally you get the state of Kaivalya, where you clearly understand your own nature, clearly realize your own nature. Though Prakriti is also Vibhu, all pervasive, Purush is also all pervasive, so there will be certain relationship between consciousness and matter, but you get detached. You are not affected by those material things. That is a state of Kaivalya. First thing. Second thing, in our tradition, everyone is required to purify his mind or internal organ. So our problems are based on Rajogun and Tamogun. Generally, Rajogun lead us to the state of luster and other things, lobh, krodh, etc. Tamogun leads us to the state of inertia, idleness, etc. So it is only Sattva-guna that has to be improved, and through Sattva-guna, when you purify your mind completely, then Sattva mind is generally compared with the clean mirror. So if your mirror is clean, then your personality is realized as it is. Similarly, if your mind is pure sattvic, then you can realize the true nature of consciousness. So second thing is, in Yoga Sutra, in the 3rd chapter of Yoga Sutra, Vibhuti Pad, that when when Purush and Sattva comes at a certain state where your mind is completely clean, Sattva Samya, this word has been used, Sattva Samya, a kind of Samya between Purush and your internal organ. So that also leads you to the state of the realization of pure state, pure consciousness. So that is another aspect. And the third aspect is that the whole creation is in quantified state. You know, there is a process with the background of consciousness. Prakriti evolves herself and evolves as a Mahat, then from Mahat to Ahankar, then the from Sattvic aspect of Ahankar, 11 sense organ, motor organ and mind, then from Tamasic aspect of Ahankar, Panchatan Matraj, and from Panchatan Matraj to Panch Mahabhut. So this is the structure of whole evolution. So once Prakriti evolves herself, then state of quantification starts. So from Mahat to Panch Mahabhut. So the whole universe is in a structured form. A structured form means that can be quantified and that can be measured. Patanjali says that there are two kinds of nityata. Nityata, one is kutastha nityata, other is parinami nityata. So kutastha nityata is related with Purush or pure state of consciousness, but parinami nityata is related with guna of Prakriti. We know in Yoga and Sankhya, Prakriti is guna and guna is Prakriti. So Prakriti is Trigunatmika. So this is three gunas are the nature of Prakriti. But the problem is that when there is a kind of Vishamavastha, the state of unequilibrium, that actually causes evolution. And when there is a state of equilibrium, that is the state of lay. So with keeping this in mind, Patanjali says the whole creation means the state of krama, a state of quantified state, quantification, a state of measurement. So Kaivalya means you have to move from quantified state to absolute state. So a forward movement from quantified state to absolute state is known as Kaivalya. And the result of Kaivalya is to realize the true nature of consciousness, to realize the true nature of primordial Prakriti. And if you are equipped with that kind of knowledge, that kind of understanding, then your personality with isolation, I am different from others, human being is different from nature, one aspect of nature is different from other aspect of nature. This kind of fragmented understanding melts down and you become a universal kind of personality. Your value gets changed. Then as Adi Shankaracharya says, कि संपूर्णम जगदेव नंदन वनम सर्वे विकल्पद्रुमा गांगम वारी समस्त वारी निभा पुण्या समस्ता क्रिया वाचा प्राकृत संस्कृतो श्रुति शिरः वाराणसी मेदिनी सर्वावस्थिति रस्य वस्तु विषये दृष्टे परब्रह्मणि. So we have a universal kind of personality. then your life is devoted to the welfare of society. Your life is devoted to the welfare of whole nature. You feel pleasure, you feel happiness if our society is happy. You feel pain if our society is in pain. So from from gross gross understanding or gross type of achievement to the development of universal personality. So we have to complete this journey, and when you realize our pure state of consciousness, then we possess a kind of complete healthy personality. So as per WHO, we have to get physically fit, we have to get mentally fit, we have to get socially fit, and finally we have to get spiritually fit. So Yoga Sutra of Patanjali actually leads us from this physical health to spiritual health. And we all know that in our tradition, swasth means what? Swasth means swa means purush, swa means consciousness, swa means atma. So when you establish yourself in pure state of consciousness, that includes physical, mental, social health. So then you become a happy person, and a happiness for ever, not happiness for a very short period. In Chandogya Upanishad, our rishis have explained all these things, that each human being is very much desirous of having absolute happiness, not a happiness for a short period. But for that purpose, you have to move from fragmented to absolute reality, because absolute reality gives you a kind of holistic understanding, and that holistic understanding prompts you to a kind of positive behavior, all inclusive behavior, everything for the welfare of others in terms of natural and other things such as human being, humanity, etc. So to develop a holistic personality and to establish a kind of values which are for the whole humanity, which are for whole nature, I think that kind of personality is in the mind of Patanjali. And we have so many examples in our society that a yogi is not a kind of religious personality which is related with the rituals and other things, and very a narrow kind of thinking and understanding. Yogi is a kind of personality which has realized the absolute truth. For yogi, the whole universe is family, as our statement is that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Our statement is that Yatra Vishwam Bhavatyek Nidam. The whole universe is family. As our statement is Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kasyit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. So that kind of understanding, that kind of value, that kind of behavior. So if we become able to develop our personality in this way through this yogic process as prescribed by Patanjali in Yoga Sutra, then I think we become asset for ourselves and asset for the whole humanity, for the whole nature. And the whole Yoga Sutra is meant for this. In Bhagavad Gita, there are 4 types of yoga. And you all know Gyan Yoga, then Abhyas Yoga, then Bhakti Yoga, then Karma Yoga. So their Abhyas Yoga is very much equal to the yoga mentioned in Yoga Sutra of Patanjali. So Abhyas Yoga has been explained as Dhyan Yoga in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And there you will find that yoga is not only the mental process. Yoga can be applied in our day-to-day life, and that will make us happy. For example, from morning to evening, what should be our behavior? So युक्ताहार विहारस्य युक्त चेष्टस्य कर्मसु युक्त स्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः. Proper diet, proper sleeping, proper duty, and so many other things. If you go through 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, then that is purely based on Abhyas Yoga, and that Abhyas Yoga is Patanjali Yoga. So in our life, day-to-day life, if we follow those things, not more eating, not less eating, everything should be appropriate. So that kind of value system should be developed, and yoga is to be applied in our day-to-day life for your whole means what your duty is assigned, and for other person too, a person working in bank, so that person can also apply it in day-to-day life. You can increase your potential to run even industry, to run other institutes. So in all aspects, it enhances your potential, enhances your capacity, and that is required in our society, in our family, in our own personality. So I think these are certain things which are helpful to us, to our society, and in this way ethical values have been prescribed, and with these prescribed values and established processes, we can develop a certain viewpoint, and by applying that viewpoint, we can develop our personality. We can work for family, for society, for everything. I think that what I wanted to convey to you as per the value system, as per the worldview mentioned in the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and I stop with this statement. Thank you so much.
Sir, thank you so much for your excellent presentation. Professor Jha has discussed about different states of yoga from the scientific perspective, and he has nicely explained the notion of reality as depicted in the different classical texts of India, from an excellent scientific point of view that we must revisit in present time the core of Indian philosophy from a scientific perspective. Thank you so much, sir. So now it is time for our discussion. I request all of our participants to ask some questions if you have. Sir, I think there is no question from our participants. So I have a clarification just, you can say.
Yes.
That in your lecture, you have mentioned the philosophy of interconnectivity in the yoga philosophy. So I would like to clarify that. What is that? I mean, what is the philosophy of interconnectivity? Is it like Buddhist notion of interdependence? How can you, sir, define it, sir? If you say something.
Actually, when we realize the deeper aspect of reality, particularly when we move to the savichar state of samadhi. So savichar state of samadhi means you are realizing the tanmatric state of reality, and the tanmatric state of reality is just manifestation of the tamas ahankar. So actually you can understand in this way that till ahankar there is a formless state, and from that there are forms, there is an evolution of form. So through tamas ahankar, all tanmatras is interconnected with each other and interdependent with each other. So at gross level, everything is fragmented. But when you move to the savichar state of samadhi, then it seems that everything is interconnected. In Yoga Sutra Vyas Bhasya, they explain properly that through ekagra mind, we realize the state of atom. And when we move the deeper state of atom, then there is a tanmatric state. And that tanmatric state is interconnected. And actually the property of tanmatric state is known as atom, Parmanu. So when you realize that state as interconnected reality, actually there is a difference between Buddhism and Yoga Sutra of Patanjali, that Buddhism accepts interdependence, not
Interdependence.
Interdependence, not interrelation. But in yoga,
in Buddhist philosophy, everything is dependently originated. That is the philosophy of interdependence.
So, not interconnected. This term has not been used generally, but in yogic and Vedantic tradition, we find both things, interconnection and interdependence. So once a reality is interconnected with other reality, naturally it depends upon other. So once you understand this reality, then your behavior is something different and your value is different. And when you move even the further deeper state, then you know there is a singular Prakriti, singular Shakti, and then those interrelations, interdependence become singular. And that singularity develops your different kind of personality. So I try to convey that why Samadhi or Yoga is important for us. Because it leads us from fragmented state of reality to the singular state of reality. And that changes our value, that changes our understanding, our behavior. So that is why it is required for us. In I try to make difference between Newtonian physics and quantum physics. Newtonian physics studies fragmented reality, everything in isolation. But quantum physics conclude that quantum physics is not the study of particle. Quantum physics is the study of relationship between particles. So when you move to deeper state, then you find that relation kind of thing. So that can be understood only through the Ekagra mind, and that's why Patanjali is explaining all these things.
Thank you so much, sir. So now I would like to request our head of the department, Dr. Debabrata Saha, to deliver the formal vote of thanks for today's program.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much, sir, for your thought-provoking lecture. Your lecture enriched us and has opened a new vision to go for research on Patanjali. Hope all the participants also enjoyed your valuable lecture. Thank you again, sir, for your virtual presence with your rich and thought-provoking lecture.
Thank you so much, and I am very much obliged to get this opportunity, and shared some of the views related with the philosophy of Patanjali. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.